Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Irreverent Therapist. Today, we are doing, as I have my cheat sheet, what is kindness for you? What is it to others? Most of us like to think of ourselves as a kind person. We do. Yeah, I'm a kind person. However, kindness means different things to different people. Getting clear on what kindness is to you and isn't can go a long way to creating more ease for you and others. Join us for this discussion of what kindness is.
So, Marilyn, what's kindness to you?
Well, interesting. I was thinking about that this morning and all the ways that I had thought earlier in my life what kindness was. Is kindness telling someone, I think your husband or wife's an alcoholic? Is kindness telling someone, that dress doesn't really look good? No. What is kindness? Now, Access Consciousness talks about kindness is telling people what they can hear. And other than that, shutting up. And the one thing that really came to me when I was considering this was how much is what I have in the past considered kindness as something that comes from a particular point of view. In other words, if someone is, gosh, now I can't even think about it, doing something with their children, let's go with that I can see or be aware of from my point of view is not kind. What do I do with that? Well, one of the things I do is destroy and uncreate at times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket pot, all 100 shorts, boys, poets, spaces, creations, and beyonds. Because what's associated with kindness that we never, ever consider is what's the effect or what will be created by the action that we're choosing.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it. To me, I would have said, before that kindness is being nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting because I'm sure it's also different in different cultures, kind of what the point of view is about kindness. But one of the things, I like in terms of how we look at things with Access Consciousness is there's states of being.
Yes.
And then there's things like, your emotions and your points of view and all kinds of stuff like that. And to me, kindness is a lot to do with how you be.
Oh, I like that.
Because you can look at it as actions. You're talking about like, where's it coming from? And are you being aware of what it's creating? But to me, it's also, you can take the same action. And if you're being a space of, contribution and receiving and considering what's going to create greatest for everyone and that kind of thing, then that action can be kind or not kind.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I've started asking myself is, what's required? Can't talk this morning, still in early morning stuff. What's required here to create something greater?
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is kind of an underlying idea about kindness. If someone, I recently had a friend who inherited a whole bunch of money, and she was like, and I was like, okay, now that sounds odd for what's required. I can't say that word this morning. But one of the things that was required was not to ask a lot of questions. She wasn't interested in being interrogated. How much did you get? What are you going to do? I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'm so glad for you. Let me know if you have anything that I can help you with. Yeah. And to me, that's what created greater. Yeah. I also had another friend who probably has a massive medical issue. But kindness isn't for me. Well, what's going on? What are you doing? Kindness years ago might have been, what do the doctors say? And what can I help you with?
Right. Showing that you're interested in caring by
Yes,
asking all those questions and engaging with them about the intricacies of their problem.
exactly. Thank you. So I was kind of like, wow, that's a lot. And I'm here for you if you have any questions for me or if there's something I can do for you. So often we think kindness is kind of intruding upon people, but it's not, generally speaking.
Well, and it also, it could be, I'm thinking tough love, right? People say that, it could be that, there's like, say you have kids, it could be that the kind thing to do looks to them like, you're being mean or something when it's actually what's required. If you've got, if you've got a dangerous situation in your backyard and you're, laid down the law of you can't go out there, that's actually being kind because you're taking care of their safety. And they might be like, oh, my mom's so mean, she won't let me do this, and this.
Well, I think that's a really great point. I scroll through my phone. I don't really do Facebook, but I look at some of the stories that come up in news. And there was something about, I can't remember all the details, but this 26-year-old living at home, and they're not doing anything. I'm like, kindness to me is kicking them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, well, what do I do to make him motivated for a job? He's 26. He doesn't have any addictions, medical conditions, anything like that. And it doesn't mean that you have to be, you're out today. It can be, hey, you know what? If you're going to live here, you need to have a job and contribute to the rent or the whatever it is. I will help you look for that. But if you're not interested, you're out of here. I don't need to be supporting a 26-year-old because a lot of times people just don't want to grow up. They don't want to have to manage the idea that they need to be responsible for themselves. That's supporting that idea that they don't need to be responsible for themselves. That's not a kindness.
Yeah. Well, and I think, in the description, you put what's kindness to you, what is it to others? I think, from this conversation, you can see that there isn't, this is a kind thing, this is not.
Right, exactly.
Everyone's going to have their own point of view about it. Like I said, for me, it's much more about how I be with things that creates whether I'm coming from kindness or not. But I think that having that awareness of what you think is kind and what someone else thinks is kind can be, having the awareness of that could be very different. I think can really help you navigate the world with a lot more ease.
Yes. And I'd like to go on to kindness to you, because kindness to me sometimes says, you know what? I really, really, really need to take today off. Is there anything I need to manage before that? But it can also be, hey, Marilyn, get off your rump. You need to do these things. Because that's something that's going to contribute to your life. So kindness for me, and I mean this kindness to you, is really asking a lot of questions. If I choose, what's that going to create? If I choose this, well, I'm not really desiring to get out there, but you know what? It's required for the creation of my life and greater in the whole possibility of the world. It's really asking questions to just be aware of what, I guess, Pam, I hadn't thought about this, but kindness is a lot about what's going to create greater here.
Yeah, for everybody.
For everybody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's ever been attached to kindness in this reality.
Yeah. Well, I think that just basically sums it up, Marilyn.
Kindness is what's going to create greater for you and everyone else.
Yeah. So anything else, or should I cue the music?
Well, I just say, please make sure and be aware that there's no judgment attached, as in, I should do this to be a better person, or this is just, the right thing to do, or the shoulds, or whatever. I was listening to a call with Gary Douglas, and he was talking about how any should or ought to be is a judgment, and it's not kind.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. I knew someone who, so in the US,
Yes.
there's something called brownie points, right? Brownie points is like, cha-ching, I just, I got another point. Like I'm being, it's like a way of tracking that you're doing
Yes.
good, right? And so he would take actions to have the brownie point, like, because it's what looked good, because
Yes.
I'm being a good
Yes.
person if I'm doing this,
Yes.
which actually was kind of diminishing him.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing to take some action from, this is what works for me, this is what I'd like to do, this is what I'd like to contribute, rather than I need to do this because this is the right thing, like the right thing to be a good person. And I got to watch him unravel that and start to really choose. And then, like, he was all through all of it, he was a kind person. But it was kindness from, because that's the right thing, I have to do this to be a good person, versus kindness from, this is just who I am.
Yeah. And thank you for that, Pam. So many of us judge ourselves as wrong or evil or bad or whatever because we don't fit in, because we don't do the shoulds and all of that from this reality. But my sense is just what Pam was saying. Deep down inside, my guess is you're a kind person. But because you've decided you're bad or wrong or this or that, or it doesn't fit with this reality, you don't allow that to show, and that you judge yourself.
Yeah.
So please, y'all, from my southern roots, be kind to you and acknowledge that you are a kind person.
Yeah.
And that
judging you is not kind.
Yeah. If you actually act from that being of kindness, amazing things will get created.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, very cool.
There we are, everybody. Cue the music. Bye. See you next time.
Thank you very much for listening, and be kind to you. That's my big thing.